Just when I thought we were making progress with red flying units, this happens to us. Okay, I'm being a little harsh. But seriously, am I asking for too much? I mean, is this just like Brave Roy all over again for me? Or, I mean, like, then they had Seabird come out and he was perfect. I just feel like there should just be like a little bit more here. Salutations, my name is Deltran, helping you build killing machines so you can dominate in PvP and in special hero maps. If you want help earning all the orbs, feathers, sacred coins, everything this game throws at you every week, consider subscribing. Let's get our digits, and we have some decent scores all the way across. Really, the biggest one to look at is that speed of 35. That is quite remarkable. Another one to take a look at, though, is that 31 defense. Usually, I used to talk about a rubric that I have where I'd like to see 32 defense or higher. I haven't used that too much anymore just because it seems like a little bit outdated, but 31 actually is really decent, and we're going to come back around to that. For what reason? The suspense is killing me. As far as skill, she comes with a Kadomatsu is her weapon. It's inheritable, can be given to other people if you really want to have swinging bamboo at people, and it gives everybody a defense and resistance spur bonus of 2 within 2 of them. That is awesome. You can stack that with other bonuses and it'll actually become very relevant. Draconic Aura is her specialist. She's got 30% extra damage on attack, is pretty darn nice, and she comes with speed, defense, boon. I like the boon skills. I wish they were a little easier to get and play with as opposed to being on all of these seasonal units, but you know, whatever. If it wasn't this to complain about, I'm sure I'd find something else. But speed and defense +5 whenever you're standing next to a unit. I'm going to say this now, pretty much all the evaluation I do, if this particular skill is on the character, I'm assuming that they're getting the benefit from it. I'm assuming they're standing next to somebody else. So keep that in mind. She also comes with a ward flyer, so she'll be giving out a total of 6 defense resistance to flying units only. You know, a little bit elitist like that. Let's go ahead and jump straight into the builds, taking a look at this budget build. We're going to keep Kadomatsu on her reposition because, well, there's really no reason to put anything else on flyers. If you have a very defender-heavy flyer, you can go a swap because that always helps out with units like that, but for the most part, reposition's the best, and there's no downside to it whenever you're in the air. Moonbow is a great special that I recommend subbing in because she needs to have that quick extra boost, and it's gonna take too long for her to get to Draconic Aura. It's not going to give her enough benefit if you keep her default kit. So I recommend going for Moonbow. It's going to smooth things out. We have the speed defense bond here. Hit and run is wonderful because that way she could jump in there, get a hit, hopefully get a kill, and then run away. But as we can see here, taking a look at her aggressor rating, she's not getting that many one-hit kills. Aggressors are measurements of how many one-hit kills a unit is going to get, and you can see it's just not great for her default kit, which is fine. We're not really expecting that. The values here, of course, if we have an S in something, which we don't in this case, that means it's absolutely perfect. Otherwise, it's just the letter grade. A means really good. F means abysmal, don't try. If you do, you'll die. And so you can see here, breaking it up into the categories, it's not the greatest. Let's go ahead and take a look at the obituaries. The DPT is 10 wins and 5 losses on initiation, 2 wins and 12 losses when initiated on the DPT or Deltran's PvP threat list. The link down in the doobly-doo for the units that are in that and their builds. It works in MDS style editors. We're taking care of a lot of greens. I mean, a lot of heavy greens are things that we take care of, but we die to Black Knight, Arden, Naui, Xander, Amelia. I mean, these are not trivial things that we lose to when we initiate on, and a lot of them you don't want to initiate on. I mean, like, you're not going to use a red unit to initiate against the beefed up Naui that has quick riposte, so, you know, it's just takes a little bit of intelligence, but on the other hand, it is in the DPT, and there are units that could take care of Naui. Most definitely not our girl Camilla here. Now, of course, whenever we're initiated on, we take care of a lot of green units, some builds of Fays, some builds of Sheenas, and Dorcas and Cherish, pretty much regardless of what they do, they're pretty much done for if they initiate on us. Otherwise, yeah, there's a lot of people there that get rid of us whenever they initiate on us, and it pretty much consists of mages, specifically blue mages, and archers. I hope you're not surprised by this. That's pretty self-explanatory. Let's go ahead and go into a little bit more of a complete build overhaul, and I'd like to note that pretty much the skills on these next builds are going to be the same. We're just going to be switching out the weapon on these. We're going to start off with Brave Sword Plus. We're not going to do a huge dive into this because when it comes down to it, New Year's Camilla here has one less attack and one less speed than Alencia. As a matter of fact, I pulled an Alencia before I pulled Camilla, trying to get one so that I could finish evaluating her, and Alencia is just better at this. She has the legendary weapon that has a higher might and has the double tap, and it's just better. And the fact that it's a legendary weapon over top of not, which is what Camilla has, means that really she's on even ground as far as PvP arena points anyway. It's, if you have an Alencia, there's no reason to put Brave Sword on your Camilla. There really isn't, and I would just steer clear it. If you don't have an Alencia and you have a Camilla that isn't minus speed or minus attack, then this is actually a decent build to go with. It's pretty aggressive, as you can see here. Taking a look at her aggressor rating and duelist rating, fighting back and forth, that's pretty decent. Problem is that well, it's twofold. One, you really should have a plus attack or plus speed boon in one of these two skills. If you don't, it's not going to carry you as far as you would hope. Although her defense will, and her general bulk and hit points is going to help you out quite a lot. That's her one little saving grace, is that she can last a little bit. Otherwise, this is not really the build that I recommend. There's better things you can do with her. Speaking of better things you can do with her, Firesweep Sword is pretty nice. Now, this goes back to something else. Whenever I evaluate units, I do not give them buffs, and I also evaluate them at neutral IV. So if you have plus attack, or even plus speed, plus attack is going to get you more mileage with Camilla. And if you give her buffs, flying buffs, you're going to dominate. It's going to be amazing. And Firesweep Sword is just going to wreck so much. As it stands right now, her her aggressor rating, is pretty darn decent as it stands. And if you could get her those buffs, she's just going to go ahead and wreck things a lot harder. Let's go ahead and take a look at some obituaries real quick at who we are killing whenever we initiate. Not too many people here that were like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I mean, there's some people there are going to be a little bit heavier that you're happy to, but without buffs, you're not going through that many units, which means you're leaving yourself open. Even with that hit and run that you have, it's not that good. So give her the support that she needs, and she's going to perform very well for you. But without that support, it's sort of like, why bother? Now, the last build that looks like this, keeping the skills that we were having, the life and death, the hit and run, gold flyers, is with a Wu Dao. Now, you could also do something very similar with Slaying Edge on this, and it's going to perform very similar. I'll tell you the differences here once we go through this. It's wonderful. Her duelist rating is great. Her aggressor rating is great. Let's just jump straight into the obituaries. And the DPT, it's 18 and 2, 5 and 13. And now we're starting to see a lot of faces that we enjoy seeing die. It should bring a smile to your face. When it comes down to it, we can get rid of a lot of units, and a lot of units that seem like they have a lot of speed to them. That extra boost of damage that we have is where it's going to be coming at for units that we can double, or even not even units that we necessarily double. One thing to keep in mind for this is that you may, if you want something that's more aggressive, you can get rid of hit and run and put in Swordbreaker. It's going to help out a lot. It's going to help you double tap Ira, Mia, all those stupid fast sword lords that are out there, are ones that you're just coming close to being able to double but just can't. It's going to get you a lot more mileage, but hit and run is the more conservative option. It's the one that keeps you alive a little bit more. And as I mentioned, you could use Slaying Edge. The differences between, in broad brushstrokes, the differences between Slaying Edge and the Wu Dao. The Slaying Edge has its pop-up damage a little bit sooner, and sometimes that's all you need. You're going to get a lot more kills with the Wu Dao in general population, but once you start looking at more specialized builds, it turns out that having that that little spike of damage a little bit sooner because of the Slaying Edge's benefit is going to bring you a lot more victories against tweaked out units, because they rely on that time to build up. If you have Slaying Edge, you're going to get in there before their big trick happens, which is very useful. But when it comes down to it, they're close to interchangeable. If you're wondering if something's really going to be good for you or not, I recommend go ahead and just simulate it yourself, figure out which one you would prefer to have. Now, this last build does rely on Slaying Edge because we're finally getting to use all of that bulk that we have. We're using Slaying Edge, defense, reforge on that, and whenever it comes down to it, we're keeping the speed defense bond 3 on her. We have guard, and I have her ward flyers here just because she's already being defensive, but honestly, any C slot you want is going to be wonderful. Now, here's the deal with this. You can see the scores on this are fan-freaking-tastic, and once again, this is without buffs. This is without buffs. It's important to note that, because while her ratings here are good, the ratings are meant to be a little more general and survey in a way. So let's go ahead and just take a look at the obituaries and the DPT. 11 and 1, 5 and 8. That's not as good as the Wu Dao when it comes down to it. Well, we have less deaths, so I'm going to initiate it on, but it looks like it's not as good, and we are defending better, but we're not getting the kills, and that's okay, because this is meant to be sort of a slow burn. You're going to have Bonfire here instead of anything else, and that's going to give you a wonderful bit of pop in order to take care of some enemies in the long run. You saw the Duelist rating was pretty good, and that's what we're looking at here. And once you give her the buffs, once you give her that support that you would give anybody else, especially if it's just a simple fortify hone, or fortify flyers. If you don't have hone, sometimes people try to run a generic budget style, if you will, Blade Tome in the Sky from a Camilla, or Naui even, and what that lets them do is it lets them get the Fortify on there, get them that buff. Well, you know what, you could use Fortify flyers and buff out your Camilla, and she's going to do super well. That's going to help out in all aspects. The bonus to hit points from Slaying Edge, the bonus defense from Slaying Edge, and it's just going to give her so much extra bulk, and that cooldown on Bonfire. You could go ahead and use Glimmer like I've been showing through most of these if you want, or Moonbow, whatever. You could do a 2 cooldown if you want, but Bonfire is going to be there to help her get that extra damage, and it's going to wreck so much. Now, you could go with Ignis, but the thing is that without support, she's not going to last long enough for you to actually use Ignis. So if you're going to go ahead and give her Ignis instead, that's fine. Make sure you're running her in Flyer Emblem. Make sure you're giving her the flyer buffs. You're going to have a great time. I guarantee it. You think? Have you found the perfect build for your Camilla? Are you a little bit concerned about how some of these work out with IVs? Let me know down in the comments. I'd be more than happy to talk through some of that with you and help you figure out the build that's perfect for yours. And do me a favor, if you like your Fire Emblem information hot and fresh like Grandma's cookies, hit that subscribe button. My name is Deltran. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate all of you. And until next time, take it easy.